Hello everyone. So today we're gonna do a Nintendo Switch unboxing. As you can see, I already have the accessories ready. Just now, I just need to go to GameStop to line up for a midnight release. So I'm gonna talk about the accessory first before I go and pick up the console in 2 hours. Why do I pick these two accessories? Nintendo Switch 2 is actually very big, so I want to have a slimmer case compared to the case I have for Switch 1. It's pretty bulky because this case not only has a game compartment, it also has a pouch to take more accessories like charging cables, headphones, and stuff like that. Also, I want this case has really robust build quality. And as you can see, the stitching quality of this is really good. And especially important things to look after when you buy a case is that whether the zipper goes very smoothly from one end to another. I tried it multiple times. It's very, very smooth. You can buy one and try it yourself. Also, you touch the interior first. It has to be soft, not scratching your console. Make sure to check all the corners. And you smell the interior. So if it's a cheaply made plastic without proper ventilation first, when it delivered to you, you open it, it will have a really harsh chemical smell. So this one, I got it out of the plastic wrap right away. I smelled it. It smells good. There's no chemical smell. So as for the screen protector, I think any really tempered glass screen protector would do. So without further ado, I'm gonna go to GameStop.
I'm here with my chair. Let's see how long I have to wait to get into the store. I do have a pre-order though, so let me ask around.
Okay, it's now 10:40. Finally in the store. Wow, this is gigantic. This is the Nintendo Switch console. And this is the iPad mini. Let's take this out. It's very big. It's very big. And we're gonna take out the two Joy-Con as well. Okay, let's move the iPad mini away. Yeah, the books and some HDMI cable. The Joy-Con strap. All right. Nice. Let's put that aside. The Joy-Con grip. Nice. Yeah, it's a little plastic here. Very cute charging block. It feels a little bit hefty. Then we come to the dock. But oh, the dock is quite hefty compared to the old one. Yeah, let's put the box away. And the Switch 1 dock on top. It's a little bit longer and it's a little bit taller as well. I really like the curved design. Feels a bit more premium. Has way more intake for air as well. So let's get to the main attraction of today. It's unboxing, setting up the Switch. I'm quite excited for this. But before we're doing that, let's get the screen protector applied. Should I wear gloves to do this? I really don't want to put any fingerprints or any dust in there. It's supposed to be quite simple, just follow the instruction. So let's see how well I can do this without getting dust on the screen. So the screen protector is quite simple to do. I think I did a good job as well. Just follow the instruction carefully and to do every single step. I don't even need to do step 7, I believe. There's no bubble. So let's appreciate this console. So pick it up. It feels quite hefty at hand. So this stands feels a little bit like metal. Considering how thin this piece is, I believe it will be metal. Let's put it down. Or the angle goes like OLED as well. I don't feel I'm missing anything by having it like this. So I like it. Yeah, it snaps in just in place. Click it once. Oh, that feels so good. Wow, this feels so good. Wow. Joy-Con feels pretty hefty and quite nice. The button is a lot bigger. Yeah, every single aspect of this Joy-Con has been significantly improved. It just feels so solid in your hands. Yeah, everything is just like rigid, a bit clicky. This two button, fantastic. So easy to click compared to the old one. Yeah, now let's try the Joy-Con attachment. I'm not a big fan of this piano finish. I already see my fingerprints there. Let's go. So this wasn't there before. Yeah, the before one wasn't this sharp, I guess. So although the grip, I don't think it necessarily feel much better. Maybe I just forgot how bad the old grip is. But as an individual Joy-Con, it's just a dream to use. Wow, love it. So good. All right, good job, Nintendo. So personally, I feel like as an individual Joy-Con, they feel fantastic. But once you connect to the console, because of the curve, it actually made it feel a little bit more shallow compared to before. So maybe that's just an engineering trade-off they have to make, but it feels okay. Weight-wise, it feels quite hefty. Now let's check the weight. Switch OLED, 435 grams. The Nintendo Switch 2, 553 grams. Steam Deck, 681 grams. It's about 120 grams, 130 grams lighter than Steam Deck, but also about 100 something grams heavier than Switch OLED. So yeah, if you find the Switch OLED a little bit too heavy, it's time to train your bicep. Now let's take a look at the size. So we have Nintendo Switch 2 over here. Got Switch OLED over here. It's kind of like a baby compared to Switch 2. And now we get the heavyweight Steam Deck on the very top. Switch Lite will be way smaller as well. Let me get the Switch Lite as well. Yeah, you can almost fit a Switch Lite into the Switch 2 screen. Almost fall into it. So the Steam Deck is bigger. So you can see that it's significantly longer, it's significantly thicker. They're about the same height, to be honest. Yeah, and it is not just in my head. So the curve they cut off here really impacts the feeling in your hand in handheld mode significantly. Used to be, and on Switch OLED, it is better holding it as handheld, and it doesn't feel really good as a single Joy-Con without that curve. I know there are cases, there are protectors that you can put on to alleviate that or have it either close to this or even closer to the Steam Deck. I just feel like missing something when I hold it like this. Yeah, but it's like almost no play in this. If you go with the OLED, you hear that? It's always a little bit play. Pro Controller. Pro Controller, it kind of feels the same as the first revision of the Pro Controller. After using the PS5 controller, I feel like Switch controller is a little bit lacking in terms of the gripping on this part. I just feel like there's a bit more angle, a bit more feeling here. Will feel better. The joystick, it feels so good. This direction pad, it feels so good, like so easy to actuate them. Button-wise is a massive, massive improvement. I heard HD rumble is much better too. I believe it because the Joy-Con, I can already feel the HD rumble. It's a good purchase. I wouldn't say it's exceeded my expectation, but it's pretty decent. I was hoping the shape will be a bit better too, but a lot of people probably like the old shape. Now it comes to probably the worst accessories I bought today is the camera. So when I line up, there literally no one was buying this except me. All right, let's take a look. That's pretty standard stuff. So do I have to put it on top of the console? Like what's the rationale for that? Do I not have another USB-C port on the Switch dock? All right, yeah. Well, that's good, yeah. At least the cable part is not moving. Good design. Well, the camera, yeah, it's so bad. It's so bad. Like, it's my arm, like, really not yellow. Anyways, yeah, it's super bad. Way too expensive for what it offers. Maybe I should return this. So I know I'm late to the party. I was going to upload this right on the day of release, but I got so busy and cutting this video took so long. So I didn't make it until today, which is 2 days after the release of the console. But I do have a chance to play with my thoughts and give you my honest opinion about if you should get the Switch 2. So if you're jumping from previous generation like Wii U, there's really a no-brainer. You should get Switch 2. But if you're coming from the OG Switch, I think it's also a good time. OLED, I feel the same as well. I personally have an OLED. But for a person who's a bit more on the fence, should you get a Switch 2? I think it depends on what games you're planning to play or what games you have on your Switch 1 that you might want to replay. So I was going to record some screen recording, but my camera devices are not up to speed and I don't have a capture card. So I'm just not gonna do that. But all these games, I have tested it and I will give you my honest opinion. If the game you want to play is not in the list, yeah, go ahead and Google it, see how much improvement you will get. So let's get started. Ace Attorney, that's actually a game I'm playing right now, clearing my backlog. I don't see much difference. The texts are still kind of sharp. Tears of the Kingdom. This is the Switch 2 edition. 1080p on handheld modes, 60 frames per second. It feels so good. And on TV, I believe it's either 4K or 2K. And it's 60 frames per second. If you're playing Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild, you just have to get Switch 2. It makes no sense to play that on Switch 1. It's such a glorious 2 masterpieces. You really have to experience them in the best form possible. For this 3, I can't really tell the difference, to be honest. It just feels the same. Animal Crossing feels exactly the same. Of course, I'm not a really hardcore Animal Crossing fan, so my island doesn't have much going on. I heard from people online saying that if your island was busy, it will stutter a little bit. But with Switch 2, the stutter is gone. Dune have an unsteady frame rate of jumping between 20 to 30 frames per second on Switch 1. On Switch 2, much better resolution and a very steady frame rate, but still it's not upgraded to a Switch 2 version per se, so it still doesn't look great. And it was not, in the original version, it was not hitting 720p in handheld mode. So it's like 480p, give or take, and it looks not great on a 1080p screen. Minecraft, I'm not a big avid player of it. I never ran into problem with the Switch 1. The general consensus I read on Reddit is that the game is so much better on Switch 2. Disco Elysium, the game looks as blurry as on Switch 1. Maybe seeing a pattern here, right? Any game that's not 720p, it looks even, I don't know if it's even worse, but it's not better compared to Switch 1. But you can see the resolution stays in kind of the same bracket and the frame rate was pretty stable at 30 frames per second. So they should really update this game. Fire Emblem Three Houses looks okay. I don't know if it looks better or worse. It still feels like a 720p or less, blowing up to 1080p, but it's locked 30 frames per second. I don't see any frame drop. XCOM 2 collection. Graphic is not great. Yeah, I hope they can release an update to improve that, but the frame rate is really good. I would even say it's like 60 frames per second. I might be wrong, but it does feel like that. Zelda Breath of the Wild. This game I specifically did not upgrade to the Switch 2 version because I don't really intend to replay that game. If you don't do the upgrade, it will just be 720p, 30 frames per second. So you will see the zigzagging like 720p picture blowing up on a 1080p screen. It's actually quite obvious. But why wouldn't you, if you're gonna play this game anyway, why wouldn't you just do the Switch 2 upgrade? It's only 10 USD, so yeah, just do it. It's gonna be much better. Play 4K on the TV, play 1080p on the handheld, and they're all gonna be 60 frames per second. Mario Kart World, it's fantastic. Yeah, I feel like it feels glorious. It's one of the few first-party games, right? You only have Mario Kart World and the Switch Welcome Tour. It's only two Switch first-party games you can get. And this game is very, very good. I haven't really dig into it because of how busy my life was, but the time I had with it was super fun. So, and if you're a big fan of Mario Kart, you have been waiting for 11 years for this game to come out. Yeah, it has been too long. Master Detective Archive Raincoat. This game is actually quite interesting. I can clearly tell this game looks worse on Switch 2. It feels like some random resolution that's like maybe 300 something p, 400 something p blow up to a 1080p screen. So it does look worse, but it performs better for sure. On Switch 1, just walking around, it would chugs along down to 20 frames per second all the time in handheld mode. But on Switch 2, it locks at 30. And now the next three games are super glorious. Bowser's Fury, especially on Switch 1, it locks at 30 frames per second. On Switch 2, it's easy, 1080p, 60 frames per second. It looks so good. Yeah, the HDR on TV looks really good. And I have to call Nintendo on the HDR on the console. It's not great. There are a few games that's supposed to support HDR. That's Tears of the Kingdom, Mario Kart World, Bowser's Fury, maybe Link's Awakening as well, and definitely Super Mario Odyssey. They don't look like HDR. With proper HDR, it will have really, really good contrast. The super bright spot on the screen, especially when, for example, a ray of sunshine shining through, that part should be super, super bright. And everything else should still be clear, but not as bright. So with this LCD screen, it just doesn't do that. So I think Nintendo really, really oversold the HDR capability of this screen. In my personal opinion, it just doesn't do HDR at all. It renders it correctly, so it looks like the HDR game looks proper SDR, if that makes sense. It doesn't wash out or anything, but it's not an HDR screen. It does not have HDR effect. You probably have to wait for a Nintendo Switch 2 OLED for that to happen. But it looks great on a HDR TV. I've tested that. Zelda Link's Awakening, if you play that on Switch 1, you know that the frame rate is not stable. You jump between 40 frames per second to 60 frames per second. Now it runs proper 60 frames per second locked, and it looks sharper as well. Mario Odyssey, this game used to, on handheld mode, it was 60 frames per second with really, really minor frame drop here and there. I can't really remember where it would drop the frame, but the resolution would drop down quite a bit, and it doesn't support HDR. With the new update, it looks really crisp on handheld mode, really good on TV mode. At the HDR, it's amazing. I would replay this game. No Man's Sky, played this game about an hour or two, but you can clearly tell the Switch 2 version is a lot better, and it's a pre-upgrade. If you have No Man's Sky 1 and you love that version on Switch, you really have to, and you just played that game, yeah, you really have to get Switch 2. It's just so much better. It has online mode. It's on par with other platform. It might even look a little bit better than the PS4 version or, I don't know, Xbox Series S version. It's just very, very good. It locked 40 frames per second in handheld mode at 1080p, I believe. And it's 1440p, 30 frames per second on TV mode. So yeah, it's definitely worth the upgrade. It's just not my game. So yeah, I suggest you to do your own research to see if the game that you play or you want to play, it receives any enhancement or it performs worse on the Switch 2, or it's even compatible or not. For the most case, it should be compatible and it should be really performant on Switch 2. It might look a little bit worse, depends on how the resolution was scaled up, but it has really low chance to perform worse compared to Switch 1. Yeah, in general, Switch 2's performance is much, much better. For these two accessories, I'm not sure about the camera. The resolution was okay, and the camera was like, you cannot adjust the height. It's supposed to be 1080p, but when I test it in the low light situation, it looks just really, really bad, as you saw in my video. So I'm still thinking about returning this. So your mileage might be different. If your room is always well lit. Pro controller, it kind of does feel the same. Gripping wise, it does feel the same as the old one. So as I mentioned, I do wish the grip is a little bit richer in terms of feeling material, but every single button, doesn't matter the shoulder button, the joystick, the cross pad, the plus minus, screenshot, home button, just every single button has been re-engineered, I feel like. So the force it takes to actuate them just feels a little bit easier on every single one of them. Even just the pressing down the joystick, yeah, it's just very, very good. And it has a two button you can map to different stuff as well. And it has a headphone jack as well. I don't know what a headphone jack is for. I haven't tested it. But yeah, overall, if you have a Pro controller, you know what I'm talking about. It's just a much better version of that. So I do highly recommend this. And also the Switch 1 Pro controller cannot wake up your console anymore. They changed the console wake up code. So the only thing that can wake up your console right now is the Switch 2 Pro controller or the Switch 2 Joy-Con. And now let's dive a bit more into the Switch itself. Other than just playing these games, what are the other reasons you should get the Switch 2? Well, mostly it's a gaming console, but everything it does is like a lot faster. For example, if we go to eShop, remember the old Switch, you would have an animation going back and forth. It would take a good few seconds until this page will be loaded. This now is super fast. It feels like PlayStation 5 kind of an eShop performance. Used to like Switch tab, it would just take a moment of time to load. Yeah, now it just kind of doesn't do that anymore. Press home button, it goes out right away. Overall, like much more responsive. The Joy-Con itself, it feels very good. And as I said before, I feel like the handheld mode is a regression in terms of how the console feels. First of all, it's a bit more heavier. Second of all, the curvature Nintendo choose to use for the Joy-Con, like around here. The palm part, it's a little bit steeper angle, so the contact of the palm is slightly worse than Switch OLED, I would say. But the Joy-Con absolutely feels like a dream when you take them out. Individually, they feel great. You hold them in your hands, each individual Joy-Con feel like a solid piece of controller. It feels very, very comfortable in my opinion. The hefty feelings on my hand and every single button is a massive improvement. The Joy-Con grip is still not great. I wouldn't say garbage, but it's not great. It's serviceable, but it's not great. It's overall a really good improvement, but how big of an improvement this is, it's really subjective. I'm personally very happy that I pre-ordered and managed to get one of this. I heard that Nintendo is doing a very good job of keeping things in stock. But right now everything is out of stock. So if you haven't got one, you probably have to wait a bit. But I don't expect you to wait for too long until you can secure your own Nintendo Switch 2 console. I wish you good luck if you want to get one. But if you don't want to get one yet, I hope my video give you a little bit more personal feeling other than just technical spec to help you make an informed decision. And yeah, it's a happy time for all the Nintendo fans around the globe. Personally, I'm very happy I finished this video and now I can just play the games. If you have any questions, just let me know in the comment section below. I'll do my best to answer them. Happy gaming.